house.
Welcome into the Legislative Lounge. We are your hosts, Natebige and Professor Mike, and we want to welcome you guys onto the show. I mean, there's been a lot going on just within the last week, man. So we got a lot to talk about tonight. But Mike, what have you seen this week that you know is really pressing for you?
You got some congressmen. You got some congressmen and women that are crying about them not getting a pay raise. Like you make $174,000 a year, my guy. Some of you are worth millions.
Oh, I know it's all of them are. I don't think there's a single member of Congress I looked the last time that isn't worth at least $1 million or more. You know, it's the funniest thing in the world because you got this huge fucking rhino here in the state of Texas that I can't stand and I've never been able to stand. You know, it's the one-eyed pirate himself, Dan Crenshaw. That I mean, I'm not trying to like disparage any kind of serviceman. I thank him for his service, but I mean, my God, dude, this is one of the biggest crybabies I've ever seen. I mean, he's out here trying to act like he's a staunch Republican and he's fighting a good fight. But I mean, hey, brother, your voting record says otherwise. I mean, you are an absolute rhino by every definition of the word. But we got to check out this video of him whining just recently about how people are calling him out about his insider trading, which is so evident. Like what this moron doesn't understand is that it's public record, you dummy. Like we see the numbers. But listen to this crybaby.
In the stock market, about $20,000, and I've been dragged through the mud on this as if like there's some insider trading. And why not? Don't let us trade stock. How about we'll just keep whipping ourselves. How about we don't make any money either? How about like just cut our paychecks? We haven't gotten a pay raise since 2008. Yeah, no, actually, no, yeah, this is a great idea. Let's make Congress a place where only the millionaires can actually afford to do the job. This is a wonderful idea. Because what do the people want? Well, they want an easy button. All my problems will be solved if there's no stock trading. All my problems will be solved if there's term limits. Yeah, but if you think about any of these things for 5 whole minutes, you might quickly come to a different conclusion. Now, what I vote for? Yeah, sure. Who cares? Who cares? Like it doesn't matter to me because I don't have any fucking money to put in the stock market. Unlike the bullshit headlines that have been written about.
There is so much in this video that is just hilarious. Like, my guy, you do know that these records are public, right? Like he said, "Oh, well, we shouldn't, have any. We should make it to where there's no paycheck." Fucking great, because that's how it used to be. The only thing that they paid for was the expenses to getting back and forth to Congress to vote.
Oh, it's like you and I looked at it a couple months ago when we were looking at the pays for representatives in Arizona and Texas, respectively. Like under 30,000 each of them per year salary. That's how it should be. Like you are there to exercise the will of your constituents. Why are you what has he done? What legislation has he introduced that is monumental, that is benefiting his constituents and the American people?
I mean, when you look at his voting record, he's really straight down the middle. Like, there's nothing like when it comes. Like I said earlier, when it comes to the definition of a rhino, like he is the purest form of it. Just because where he comes is, here in Texas, it's just outside of Houston. It's like northwest or northeast Houston area is where he's from. And I mean, that's a red area. Like red as red can be. That's where it's right on a lake. So people have money. And that's the one thing that he said in that video. He's like, I ain't got no money to do that. But like, buddy, you are worth $8 million. You have you have an annual income from some fucking where of around $2 million a year. I don't know where that's coming from, but that's been estimated by multiple sources. You have a salary of $174,000, my boy.
That's what they start out as. I mean, AOC went from bartending to $174,000 salary when she got put into office, and we need to start putting these people in check. No, you don't get a pay raise. You haven't done shit. What, like, when's the last time you guys looked at the budget? Actually did your job, 2001. All you guys keep doing is these continuing resolutions.
And the thing about it is, like, when it comes to Dan Crenshaw specifically, because I will get to the rest of Congress in a minute, but because I'm from Texas, I want to go off on this dude. Because I mean, he also said in that video, "Oh, I only have $25,000 in the stock." My boy, I'll say it again. You know this shit is public record, right? Like, I hope to God you see this so that way you can you are stupid, Dan Crenshaw. Like, this is public record. We can look your shit up. I don't know if you know that. Like, currently over the last 6 months, he has outperformed the market by over 110% in regards to his investments. He currently has a total of this year alone $150,000 invested into the stock market, which he's outperforming by 110%. So this whole, oh, I only $25,000 into the market. Like, again, my boy, you do know this is public record. We can see this. Like, there's no point in lying like that.
That's pretty good to be outperforming the stock market, especially now since it made a little bit of a dip.
That's the whole point. It's like, you look at any congressional member. Doesn't matter if they got an R or D next to the name. It doesn't matter. They're outperforming the markets tremendously. And then people want to sit there and be like, oh, what insider trading? Like, oh, I don't know. It's just probably because every single one of you are making monumentally genius moves in the stock market out of nowhere, supposedly. But all of America is average. The math ain't math in there, guys.
You only give somebody a pay raise to justify good performance. And I have not seen any good performance from any person in Congress. There have been no pieces of legislation that have truly benefited the American people.
Right. And I mean, just like recently when they were trying over this whole, continuing resolution, which, mind you, everybody, I'm going to put this out. A continuing resolution is not Congress doing their job. They're not doing their job when they do that, because what that is that they're saying, hey, this is what we had, right? This is the budget that we did have. We're going to increase it this much so that way we can keep floating, and then it's going to increase our debt limit, and then we're just going to, you know how long they've done that? 24 years straight. Because the last time they put together a budget was 2001.
Can you imagine if the American people were able to just raise our debt limits?
Bro, like, it's crazy.
It's like you don't deserve what you're already paid.
Exactly. And when it comes to our pays, right, within this bill, that's what I was alluding to. Within this bill that they were trying to pass prior, Mike Johnson being, I'll get to him in a minute. Y'all know how I feel about Mike Johnson. Okay. But what he was doing, trying to appease the Democrats, they were trying to push forward this 1,547 page continuing resolution that included them increasing their pay. Now, when it comes to this whole 243,000 or 47,000, whatever it was, a lot of people are like, oh, it's going to increase it automatically to that. No, first of all, that's not what my video on TikTok was even alluding to, anyways. It was alluding to the fact that they have what's called the EPI or the ECI, which is the employment. Now I'm blanking all of a sudden. Compensation index, right? It's an annual index of roughly what I said in my video is an annual of about 2.5 to 5%, which is what most Americans get if they get a raise from their company, right? And this was the model that Congress was using for several years until it was frozen in 2009. In 2000, because it stopped at 174,000, right? And that's what Dan Crenshaw is whining about, and they wanted to bring that back, which then that means that they would eventually get to a base limit of 247,000 over some time. Because right now, if they would have never frozen that from 2009, Congress members like Dan Crenshaw and AOC, brand new people that aren't assigned to really any committees, don't have any kind of leadership roles or nothing, would be making 243,000 or 247,000, whatever that number was, this year in 2024. That's absolutely insane.
Yeah, just their current salary, 174,000 a year. they're already in the top 25% of people in this country. So where's that whole they need to pay their fair share?
Right. Exactly. I mean, I would love to see their tax returns on that 174,000. On top of the fact that they get stipends for travel, stipends for food, stipends for health insurance is completely paid for the rest of their life, and that's a whole nother part of that bill that they were trying to do. They were trying to expand the all encompassing, glorified health insurance that they already have, while people are out here getting shit on by Obamacare.
Everybody was trying to do that. So even you Bernie bros aren't safe. Bernie Sanders was supporting a pay increase, and that dude's worth like 8 mil or something like that.
I can't understand the like. You see the same people sitting out here champagning all these increases to the mega wealthy and the corporations and all this other stuff. Then they're millionaires themselves. Like AOC is probably the poorest person, quote unquote, poorest person in Congress, and she's still just right around $1 million a worth net in just what 8 years ago or whatever it was when she first started Congress. She was a bartender, for God's sakes. It's like, how you go from bartender to making $174,000 to being a millionaire? Math ain't mathing. Math ain't mathing, man. But I mean,
it's ridiculous. These people, they don't understand they when they got elected, they forgot the everyday struggle of the common folk.
mm-hmm.
It's like I made 174,000 a year,
bro. Man, like I do well, right? In my day job, I've got a nice job. I make around, a little over 6 figures, right? And it's hard as hell here in Texas just on that. Like my wife's a stay at home. She has her own home businesses and stuff like that. Bring a little bit in, but like at $100,000 a year, people should not be struggling like they are. Like $100,000 a year is basic middle class now.
I don't make anywhere close to that. I cannot wait for this Trump venture of no tax on overtime, because like we live in a system where you are penalized if you work too much. I have to work overtime just to afford life.
Yeah.
I was working, let's see, this last pay period, I worked 103 hours. And
Crazy.
Still living paycheck to paycheck.
That's just insane. There's no way that people should be doing that.
And I told you I just got a bonus from my company.
Yeah.
A beautiful bonus that was also taxed.
Of course it was, right?
But
what do you get taxed, man? Just for shits and giggles.
So it was a $600 bonus. Got taxed almost $200.
Basically 33%. That is insane. Like, oh my gosh.
But it's like, and the tax brackets are really weird. If you are a single person, a single filer, you fall into the 11% bracket, the 10 to 11% bracket, which means it's like you make 10,000 to 49,000, and if you make over that, $49,000-$50,000 threshold, you jump up a tax bracket. And it's like people can't afford, like, if you actually start off in that 11% tax bracket, people can't afford being taxed at that 22%.
That's why some people refuse to work a certain amount of hours, because they can't afford the next tax bracket. And it's like, yeah, I'm making more money in my paychecks, but am I at the end of the day because of the tax bracket going up?
And then, not just that, regardless if your income is taxed, right? When you go to file, you're gonna owe.
Yeah, big time. And that's the crazy part. Like, that's why we keep trying to tell people, like, read your documents before you sign your jobs and job forms. Because technically taxes are voluntary. you voluntarily sign up to them on your W-4s. Like, read your documents, people.
Now
Don't
there's
don't just sign anything.
now there's tax loopholes, right? You by law have to file.
Yeah.
You have to file your tax return. Now there's ways to get around paying, and there are certain tax loopholes written into the code itself, and you can get what you owe forgiven completely.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, like, what did you
people
do?
need to
You
read.
just right, like, and when instead of filing, with those W-4s or when you fill those out, and rather than, writing in, you know, non-exempt or whatever, you write exempt. Write in exempt. You have the right to do that, guys. Write in the tax code.
But it's like the argument against Trump's no tax on overtime is it is disproportionate to salary employees. It's like, I'm
Mhm.
sorry, you chose a salary paycheck.
That's me.
What the no tax on overtime is going to incentivize is more people working. People are going to want to work more. That business is going to thrive more.
Mhm. And I
Like,
think, Trump actually just came out yesterday, and reaffirmed his promise to actually make the largest tax cuts in American history in 2025. So definitely, and on top of no tax on tip, no tax on overtime, things of that nature. Hopefully, that's all going to be involved into the tax reform that he's going to put, how have Congress put forth.
yeah, seems like I don't know. As we get closer to January 20th, it seems like shit's just going downhill. I mean, Joe Biden's making some crazy moves. I think he was just
Man,
telling me.
yeah, like I don't know if people saw it, but today, everybody knows about the first round of, commuted sentences and pardons that he issued out, right? Already breaking records with that. Well, today he came out again with some more pardons for 37 out of the 40 total men on federal death row. Of them, of that list, multiple of them are, at least 5 of them, actually. I've got an exact number. 5 of them are children killers, so they kill babies, my guys, and several of them are mass murderers.
It's that is yeah. Those if they had lived in if they were in Texas, they would have been on the expressway for the death penalty.
Like, I mean, there was a Congress lady that or a lady that's running for Congress, she put out I guess she put it out on Twitter, but I saw it through another means, but it was, like, an article that showed how in some articles they have, like, the link to the Twitter
Mhm.
page or whatever? That's where I saw it. She had, like, this stuffed dummy, and she shot it, right? She
I
said,
saw
and
that.
that
I just like no lie. I
yeah.
just saw that.
And she was saying that how every legal, should be put to death, not deported. That does any kind of rape or murders an American citizen. I was like, absolutely, but we should
Oh,
also apply that to American citizens too.
exactly. Like if you if you unjustifiably take a human life, you are by default forfeiting your own,
Especially a child.
especially a child. Um, yeah, you'll get no complaint from me. Like those are the worst of society. You know,
You know, the
send them to their next life. Let God judge them.
the argument always becomes like, oh well, it's going to save money by actually keeping them alive rather than. I'm like, no, one bullet cost how much money?
Uh, so one round of 5.56, I believe, is still 43 cents.
There you go. It's cheapest death in America. I don't know why everybody's like talking about, oh, you got all. I mean, I understand the appeals process and all that stuff, but we feeding these fools. Once it's been confirmed they exhausted those means, because I do believe in those means, even for them, the ones that shouldn't be going through it. But I still believe in it to the point where, you know, at the end of the day, if they exhaust all those options, one swift bullet to the head and it's over.
Speaking of Texas representatives, we were just talking about Miss Kay Granger,
Oh
and
God.
this woman is 81 years old. She was missing apparently for 6 months, and then was found in a retirement community that specializes in dementia. I don't know if she was neighbors with Joe Biden or not, but
That is absolutely insane to me because where she comes from is an extremely red area as well. And what you said, you were telling me earlier, she was out of commission, basically not doing anything in regards to
yeah,
her job as a congressional member for what, 6 months?
yeah, she missed several key votes and basically was MIA for 6 months.
That is insane. She should be immediately expelled from Congress. Anybody that does that kind of stuff, I mean, you're not only hurting your party, you're hurting your constituents of the area in which they voted you for. Because here in Texas, they don't mess around with, lazy workers. That's why people like Nen Crenshaw and more than likely the Senator Cornyn will be removed in their primaries.
Yep. Speaking of people that might be removed, 𝗬𝗦𝗧𝗏.
Man, you want to get to that already?
Well,
Everybody knows me.
I like to keep the gas on calling out Republicans because it's so much fun. It's so much fun for me. I love Democrats make it too easy to call them out. It's much more fun to call out your own party and hold yourself accountable.
Yeah, I mean, like I say it all the time. I'm gonna say it until it becomes like my gimmick. I swear. Everybody that knows me, or as long as he's in Congress or at least leadership in Congress, like if he gets removed, y'all won't hear me say another thing until he's out of Congress. But Mike Johnson is one of the most spineless, worthless congressional Republicans I've ever seen. And I've been saying it before he was voted. And like I say, I'm gonna keep saying it until everybody on this country knows it. Nathan does not like Mike Johnson, but like this man, I told everybody from day one before he was voted in, he was going to be McCarthy but worse, and that's
Hmm.
exactly what he's done. Especially just as of recently, right? Well, I can go over his track record, and I can make a whole show just about Mike Johnson's track record and what he's done as the Speaker of the House, it's only been a year, just over a year now, and this is absolutely insane. But he was the one that gladly presented the 1,547-page document that for the continuing resolution with all the garbage he knew was in it.
Ridiculous. Ridiculous.
And it's one of those things where I continuously will tell Republicans because I got crapped on by so many Republicans like, oh, give him a chance. He's good. He's good. No, he wasn't. Like I actually look at these people's voting records. You people need to start doing that and stop worrying about, oh, he's from this state and he's a Republican. That means he's good. That doesn't mean jack. Because you got freaking old, dusty old, Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell from Kentucky and South Carolina, deep red states. They're definitely Republican, but they're some of the more goofiest Republicans I've ever seen.
Is Mitch McConnell still alive?
Man, I don't know that dude. I swear they're like juicing him up like Biden for some reason because they be
His
catering
head
to the left.
bandage. Yeah, his arm was in a sling. You got Nancy Pelosi breaking her hip.
Oh, Lord, all these
Like,
dinosaurs.
well, why do y'all keep voting these people in? Why do y'all keep these people in?
That's the thing. Like, I used to be an advocate for, term limits, term limits. It's like, but at the same time, that is taking away our right to choose because I don't believe in term limits anymore. I don't believe that they should be on the president either. What we should
No.
do, because that takes my constitutional right away from being able to choose who I want to represent me. If I want to vote for Trump for the next 10, 15 years that he's alive, I should be able to. But the problem is, we keep having ignorant people vote, so they keep voting all these same dumb people back into Congress, and that's why people keep like whining and complaining. Oh, it's the Republicans. Oh, it's the Democrats. But yeah, you've got what 20% of Congress that's been in there for over 40 years. It's like, what are we doing?
They have done nothing, and everybody should make note of this. Mike and Nate call out everybody. If you're doing a bad job, we're going to call you out. Doesn't matter if
I like
you're
it.
left, right, Republican, Democrat, Independent, Communist,
Yeah.
Marxist, Socialist. Doesn't matter. Conservative, Christian.
I'll tell you right now, Mike's wearing a Trump hat and I've got a Trump flag. I've got a Trump sticker on my car with him going like this on my back window, right? I'm gonna tell you right now, if he doesn't do what he promised, or at least try, because and Congress doesn't get it through, he gonna get my foot down his throat.
Mhm.
Trust me on that, because I was right there when he came out with the whole COVID vaccine and was trying to promote that. I was on his ass until
Yep.
he was like, "Oh, it should be your choice." I was like, all right, now you got me back. You got me back."
I
But
was
the
just
whole
I was
way
just mad at that time you couldn't find anything on the technology being utilized.
right, and I mean, that was his whole thing was trying to, make sure, because nobody knew what was going on, obviously, from certain perspectives, I'll say.
Mhm.
Um, and he was one of them. He didn't know, so he was trying to promote health and wellness and trying to make sure Americans were safe. And I can get behind that. But the fact that this Operation Warp Speed and all this other jazz, and then it seemed like he was just trying to make it seem as though he was trying to make it to where the Republic or the Democrats didn't have one more thing to attack him on, because they were already going at him about being a xenophobe and all this other stuff. I can understand that. But once it got to the point where he actually there was an actual vaccine, and he was like, "No, it's your choice to take it, whether or not." It's like, all right.
Mhm. He said that over and over and over and over again. Um, yeah, as the year comes to a close, we're just seeing a lot of weird shit going on.
And I mean, with all this, like going back to the Joe Biden thing, like it's crazy to see how he's out here doing all this stuff. And there, funny enough, there's actually been some rumors of Joe Biden, like basically telling Biden himself to just burn the bitch down. Just wreak havoc, because they're still mad about everything that happened with Nancy Pelosi and the Democratic Party ousting him from the presidency.
Mhm. She's petty.
I love it. Like, I tell everybody, it's like, I'm a petty bitch. So yeah, I don't care. I own that. It'll be like, I mean, I'll be cordial until you do something real wrong, and then I'll be like, game on.
Y y with all the moves, I mean, with all the moves that he's making, it's clear that she's driving the bus.
I
I
mean,
mean,
there.
we
Do
we
you
saw it
use?
months ago. We saw it months ago when she was leading that meeting.
Oh, was it a month ago? Yeah, it was a couple months ago. Yeah, but I
Yeah,
mean, you saw the recent reports of that. Was it Project Veritas? Is that what they call it now? With
yeah,
O'Keefe? No,
yeah.
that's his original. Now it's called OMG or something like that. But they did some kind of scoop on a guy who was an inside on the National Security Council or something like that.
Uh-huh.
And they did one of those hidden camera things where he was talking about how they're covering, like, straight up covering up how cognitively deficient that Biden is, and that he's not actually doing anything. And then James O'Keefe actually confronted the guy in public afterwards. And it's like, wait a second. So we have been right about this guy being mentally impaired for the last how
Yeah,
many years?
since, I'll say since 2019.
Yeah, I was gonna say 2019 too, because I mean it's crazy. You got these people out here, it goes all the way back to the whole report from the oversight committee that looked into his connections with the Hunter Biden, and they reckon, and this is the one part that people don't understand, is that they actually recommended the DOJ to press charges. They
Mhm.
like And the DOJ, what was the response? Oh, he's not cognitively aware, competent to stand trial. Then why the hell he the president? Well, what are we doing?
Oh, boy.
But now he's out here just pardoning baby killers and mass murderers and child porn people. And
Hey,
the one guy had. Okay.
he was gonna forgive, like, a lot of student loans.
Oh my god. Like,
Scrap that.
I was gonna get to that in a second, but I want to like, when it comes to, like, I mean, you got all that, but like, the student loan thing is a whole nother level. You had people for years believe in this nonsense that Joe Biden was going to forgive student debt. And we've had arguments with people on lives in TikTok, and them saying, "Oh, my student loans were forgiven." Of course, they couldn't provide any information as to how or where, or when or why, and all this other stuff. And it was like, oh, it's Joe Biden. It's Joe Biden. I was like, I'm telling you right now, not a single cent has been forgiven under what Joe Biden promised. If you had any kind of student loan that was forgiven, is through the already existing means of forgiveness, because they do exist. There are students, but they're very limited on who can get them. Yeah, more than likely, you have to be like a public servant of some sort. But he's out here promising trillions of dollars of student debt to be just gone like that, thinking as if he has the power of the purse. Well, guess what? It was as of 3 hours ago, he officially pulled the plans to even do it. After months and months of the Supreme Court saying this ain't happening, now here we are, the end of 2024, the end of his term. He didn't do it.
Man,
We told y'all.
I wish
We
I had
told
my
y'all.
debt. I wish I had all my debt forgiven.
Right. I've got like, I don't know, 17,000 or something like that in student loans myself. I don't even have a degree for it. I was like, thank you,
I
University of Michigan.
I just want my regular people debt forgiven.
Right? Man. But I mean, it's just it's to the point where these people do not vote on the reality of what a president can and cannot do. And that's what's sad about America. They don't understand the actual powers in which a president, because you hear it all the time. Like, I understand Trump says some things that, to the common person be like, oh, that sounds amazing. And be like, okay, well, this is probably how he'll do it, because we know how things operate, right? The whole thing with the taxes, tax on tip and stuff like that. Like, we know he personally can't do that, right? Which is why we stress so much about Congress and getting the House flipped and the Senate flipped and all that, right? We understand that. He understands that. Anybody with a brain understands that.
Well, it's like, he may say some things, but the news is right there with him saying equally stupid things. Like the narrative now is President Musk. Donald Trump has ceded the presidency to Elon Musk. It's like, if you just paused and just assess the situation, you'd realize Elon Musk doesn't qualify for the presidency. He wasn't born in this country.
He's a pseudo president. He's pulling the strings of Trump. I thought that was Putin. Oh, now it's Elon. Make up your damn mind.
But it's like, why are you mad at Trump taking financial advice from Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy? Both very highly successful billionaires in their own right. Vivek ran his own and funded his own presidential campaign.
Right?
Like, what are we talking about? Like, why should I support any financial advice from 500 members of Congress when they haven't even addressed their primary function in 25 years? A quarter of a century, and they have not done their job.
It's insane to me. And people will sit here and be like, "Oh, we need these continuing resolutions." Like we said earlier, they haven't put forth a budget since 2001. So for all you Republicans out there, this is me calling out Republicans, because we've had the House several times, who is the one that puts forth the budgets, right? We've had it several times since 2001. Why the hell ain't we holding them accountable, guys? Because the last person that put it in place was a House of Democrats.
But it's the old adage is two wings of the same bird, and they are self-serving. We need to exercise our right as we the people, and actually put people in place that will do their jobs and represent our views, exercise our will as the people, and care about us. Because it seems like, regardless of which side you're on, Americans are always last. I mean,
And
they keep sending billions of dollars to Ukraine, even now.
Right. I mean, what is it? The last week they've announced like 3 or 4 different packages of aid to go to Ukraine, some more. from Joe. I mean, like, first of all, why is Biden announcing this? Because he doesn't have the power to do that. That's what I don't understand. It's like
Well,
this is why.
in that 1,500-page bill, there was aid to Ukraine. Like, why are we continuing to send billions of dollars in Ukraine and then, you know, very, very little to the continued victims in North Carolina and on the East Coast?
Right? And then people wonder why we want single issue bills so that way, first of all, nobody read that bill. And that's what I found funny about it. Is like they were sitting there trying to promote it as a bipartisan bill when most of Congress came out and said they didn't even read it. Why? 'Cause they only gave them 24 hours.
It's 1,500 pages. Like, that's a lot of reading. And if you do read it, you're just reading the words and you're not reading to comprehend. It's going to take you some time. Um, like, Nate and I are pretty good at reading bills, but I'll admit I ain't that fast.
Mm-mm. First of all, I hate reading. I only do it just because I hate reading. You ask anybody, I do not read. I took special reading classes when I went to elementary school. I hate reading. So,
Well,
but if I'm going to sit here and I'm going to
that
read
checks
these
out.
goofy bills, hey, shut up, man. I see. The thing is, I'm smart, so it don't matter just because I can't read well. I can now because of my classes, but uh, when it comes to, I mean, this is the ridiculousness of these bills is that they're just chock full of things on purpose, and they do this purposefully. Like I said, they try to squeeze in that thing about pay increases. They try to squeeze in that expansion of their healthcare. They tried to squeeze in a bunch of other nonsense, and we could go on for several hours. Luckily, they presented two more bills after that. It
Yeah.
was like what 27 pages. The next one, which a large majority of them Republicans shot down, which
Mhm.
is crazy. But
If
then the last one that actually passed was 118 pages.
Yeah, if y'all want an insight on what Congress actually spends their time doing, go on Congress.gov. Click the search bar, just click search, and then go to most recent um, action, and you'll see everything that's been introduced and voted on. Majority, like the first 20, majority of those are naming new buildings to be more ethnically acceptable.
Yeah, me and Mike are one of those weird people where we'll go to Congress.gov and just see what they're doing. I mean, some of the bills that they're presenting are just some of the most ridiculous stuff, like renaming statues and just this dumbest stuff that has nothing to do with anything.
I was on there last night, and it's like the third one down. It's like renaming this VA to this name, and I was like, what the hell are we doing? Why are we renaming these things? There are more, um, there are there are better things that we could be focusing our time and energy towards. You are taking away time from um, congression from congressional meetings to introduce bills for renaming shit. Like, get out of here.
Hmm.
That's not what I elected you for.
Right? So I mean, but pure and simple. I mean, these people are just pushing stuff into these bills, and they're blatantly lying to us. I mean, they just lie to us all the time. They say, "Oh, it stems." I mean, we can go back so many years on these bills and talk about how they'll name it one thing, but then they'll have like 50 different things that has nothing to do with that name, like the whole burn pit victim thing that they had, and half the bill wasn't even had anything to do with it, and the amount of what was it the money that was being allotted to the military to those was only going to affect 2% of the burn victims anyways, and so it's just like people need to actually read these things, and it gets perpetuated by the news media and they just expand and make it to where they'll give you a little bit of information so people run around here like acting like, "Oh, I know what's going on because the news told me." And then you sit there and you say, "Stop watching the news. Stop watching." "Oh, I didn't. That's not where I got my information from." It's like, yeah, yeah, it is because you're literally saying the same exact thing that they just said.
Well, the problem with the PACT Act, which I had a hand in, proofreading and writing myself, and because I know the wife that got that whole thing rolling. And the problem is the one that's enacted, it's actually screwed up a lot of benefits claims. A lot of guys' percentages on what they get for disability.
Mhm.
So, like the best thing that we've gotten so far as the Veteran Affairs is the Mission Act under Trump. That was amazing, but we still have a lot of work to do in this representation of socialized healthcare.
Absolutely. And I mean, when we, like I say, going back to the media, like that, they just continuously lie and lie to us, and that's what I'm hoping Donald Trump does. Is he put the Smith-Mundt Act back into place and eliminates this. And now, I mean, he's been talking about it. Like today, he talked about. I think it was today or yesterday. I saw the video today, at least. Let's put it that way, where he's talking about keeping looking into keeping TikTok in some way, fashion. So that'd be interesting to see how that happens. But I mean, you got news media out here just blatantly lying to the point where Donald Trump is actually suing a lot of different people in the media, but also the Des Moines Registry, and then also the pollster. Was there an Ann Seltzer that came out with that poll the day before the election in regards
Oh
to
yeah.
how Kamala Harris was gonna sweep through Iowa, and we obviously know by the results of the election, but just anybody that knows anything about Iowa that was never going to happen.
Hmm.
And of course, that's exactly like Donald Trump took it by like 6 points. It's just ridiculous. But he's out here now going to be suing them, and then also you got you got news media like CNN and all this other stuff. Perpetuating these stories like, oh my God, breaking news! Kamala Harris is on the verge of taking Iowa. And then now
Well,
you see, oh, go ahead.
he just made 10 million off of what was that dude's name? George Stephanopoulos from ABC.
Yes, ABC. Yeah, that's the whole. I mean, he's out here just suing people left and right. And
Well,
what's
like
funny
he
about it,
should. And the most
absolutely.
ironic part of that, the most ironic part of that is Donald Trump sued George Stephanopoulos for labeling him a rapist
Mm.
in regards to a case where Donald Trump was held liable for defaming E. Jean Carroll, claiming that he did not rape her.
And in the transcript itself, literally says that the jury determined that Donald Trump did not rape her. And went on, sexual assault. We can talk about it as a different matter because that's eventually what he was his defamation of sexual assault, right? In the whole case. But I mean, the whole gimmick that they're running with is, oh, Donald Trump's a rapist. Rah. When in reality, you can read the documents. You can go to legalscan.com, pull up Trump v. Jean Carroll, right? And it will literally say on there, per the jury did not find substantial evidence or something like that to determine that Donald Trump raped E. Jean Carroll
Hmm.
or something of the along those lines. It might not be verbatim what I just said, but it's somewhat verbatim. It's crazy.
Oh,
And
out of the top 15 on Congress.gov, when you go to latest action, find newest to oldest, uh, three of them are renaming buildings out of 15.
it's just I mean, it's just useless. 90% of what they do. And I mean, I want to finish this but when you look at like all these media sites, CNN and whatnot, they're seeing historic lows in ratings, and they wonder why. It's like you've been lying for the last 4 years about everything. I mean,
More than
what is it?
that,
CNN reportedly experienced its lowest ratings in network history in 2024, despite it being an election year. It's like
that's
that's because they're lying.
so this is where they want to ban TikTok so bad. Them and Congress. You know why? Because the news is getting called out, Congress is getting called out, and you get some of your best news from TikTok, from Twitter,
Exactly.
and these elected officials are pissed. because people are listening to guys like me and Nate, like Andrew Tatum, like Charlie Kirk, and they're not going to Fox News. They're not going to CNN, ABC, all those other brainwash sites.
Yeah, I mean, and then it's just getting to the point where we don't even trust Congress, right? Like with the whole, I mean, we don't trust the president, we don't trust Congress, we don't trust the news media. I mean, you got Joe Biden out here, like we have already said, pardoning people left and right. So that's why people are now calling upon Donald Trump without even, because I mean, he said he was going to review it on a case by case basis, right? After what? After, and I'm on this board, this ship now. I'm all aboard. It's like, let every J6er out. Like, pardon every single one of them. Don't even look at their case. Like, after all this nonsense that Joe Biden's been doing, and that's why a lot of people are also calling for what's his name, the Derek Chauvin, and the whole the individual that killed George Floyd, right? Even though the autopsy, coroner's report all said that he overdosed, when people want to forget about that, it literally says he had a lethal dose of fentanyl in his system. Sorry,
You,
fentanyl.
you wouldn't be far off with phetamine, because there was fentanyl and I believe methamphetamine.
Right. I mean, this guy was hopped on with so many drugs. That's what killed him because, the exerted, being forced to the ground and stuff like that, overpumped his heart and, pushed adrenaline with fentanyl in him. That's what killed him.
So I work in a hospital as security, and we deal with the homeless population and people on fentanyl and everything. A small sugar packet, everybody knows what a sugar packet looks like. Small sugar packet like that has the potential to kill 500 people. And this George Floyd had, I think, 16 nanograms of fentanyl in his system.
That's
Like,
wild. The fact that he was even standing was able to commit the crime.
Some of y'all built statues of this man.
And just completely forget the fact that he was committing a crime at the time that he died. We'll just forget that. He's the good boy.
He's a good boy, but his rap sheet is like a mile long.
Bro, didn't even get me started.
He held a gun up to a pregnant woman's stomach. But this is a good guy. This is a guy that we should, our children should embody or emulate.
And that's the thing, is that's why people are so many people are calling upon the J6ers and Derek Chauvin to be pardoned by Trump. And then, I can't ever pronounce his name right. I know you'll correct me. Jack Posobiec, but whatever. He's out here on Twitter land saying he's gonna file lawsuits against all the J6 committee, including Liz Cheney herself, once they're pardoned. I'm like, let's go.
Dude, that guy, I believe he was banned off of Twitter, and he started going ham on Telegram. You want to see some, in-depth news that he's gathering? Go find his Telegram. That dude, like him and James O'Keefe.
Mm-hmm. Now, talking about him, he was back on Twitter, I guess now, and I remember when I was on Twitter, that man was going crazy on there. I'm not surprised he did get banned, but now he's back and he's talking about suing all of them, going after him, leaking all the information that he has. I mean, I hope he runs for Congress. I mean, and then you also have what's his name, Gunther Eagleston, another huge political commentator. A huge on Twitter. I think he's got like over 1 million followers on Twitter himself. He's going to be running against well, he's thinking about it. He's like he is, but he's like trying to downplay it, I guess, on Twitter, because I've been seeing some tweets like on Facebook and whatnot of what he's been saying, and he's like trying to downplay it because registration doesn't open until January 1st for all all next elections, and it's more than likely he's going to be running, which will be phenomenal because, like we said earlier, Dan Crenshaw, just if we can eliminate these people like Liz Cheney and the people that were already pushing out with what's the guy from Utah, Mitt Romney, the great myth Romney, pushing him out because he retired, but that got replaced. If we can get rid of these individuals and start putting in people that actually, will do their job, we'll be so better off. People are out here like saying, "Oh, these people are just Trump, lackeys." Like, no, they're advocating for the same. They've been advocating for the same things before Trump even was a thing.
I I hope. I pray. I pray there's a Harris Vance race.
Oh God, that would be
That would
terrible
be
for
so.
her.
That would be so amazing because he is.
You know how many people? You know how many people asked Trump to actually step down and let Vance take the ticket? And then they think that she's gonna have a better chance against Vance. Like his own party was calling upon him and telling Trump to step down.
Like, and I believe if Vance runs this next election, he'll get 2 terms.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
I don't see any up and coming Democrats.
I really don't. I mean, they've got like they're calling upon like AOC to run for president and stuff. Like she's a name that's been floated around for president
No,
of
no.
2028. I'm like, bro, if AOC is like top flight security that you got in the Democrat Party, like,
Never mind. I retract what I said. I retract. I want AOC to run against Vance.
man, I swear to God, she'll win California and New York, and that's about it.
No, she won't even win. I guarantee you.
Yeah, she
If
probably
she
won't
runs,
win New York, even though she's
you
from
you
there.
will you will see. If she runs, you will see Cali and New York turn red.
I'm still surprised she won her race just recently because she's in the Bronx, right? That's her district, and Trump took the Bronx like crazy. I think there was a 26% move to the right for the Bronx alone. I was like, yeah,
Oh, if you looked at that election map, there wasn't one blue state.
absolutely. That's
There was so much red everywhere.
that's crazy. I mean, it's just the big cities. That's all it is. It's just indoctrination of what is that called when they pile them all into one area? Like certain demographics right into a certain area. I can't even think of that word, but y'all know what I'm saying. And it's just this mentality of people not looking at the candidates like we've always said. And it's like, look at what they're promising. Look at what
Mhm,
they can do versus what they can't do and compare that to what they're promising. Because
mhm.
that way you'll know they're full of shit.
And we told you we were critical of. We went through each policy on Harris's and Trump's. We told you exactly what each candidate could do. We
Mhm.
told you that Trump, yeah, he promises no tax on tips and overtime and whatnot, but we're like, he can't do that because it takes a congressional action.
Mhm. And I tell you, some of those congressional actions are still going to be hard because people are like, "Oh, we've got the majority in both the House and the Senate." It's like, no, the hell we don't. No, the hell we don't. Especially
If
in the
you're looking
Senate.
at red or blue, yeah, we have the majority. But if you're looking at voting patterns, we're still the minority.
On both.
Hmm.
On
Just look
both.
at
Because you,
look at this last bill.
at best, at best, in the Senate, we're 50-50 still.
The real ones, the real Republicans were the ones that voted against that 1,500-page bill.
Mm-hmm. Mine was only like, what, 20 something? Or 30? And there was like 36.
I don't know, but my
Chip Roy, baby, from Texas. That's a real one, y'all. Chip Roy.
Paul Gosar from Arizona.
Chip Roy. That's my boy. He ain't in my district, but that's my dude. I like that guy. Like, that's a real Texan Republican for sure. So, I mean, there's so much going on, and it's only going to get more crazy as we get closer to January 20th. And what's funny is that we're not like as we get that week into January 20th, we're not going to be able to do shit, Mike, because we're going to be busy with your wedding. Oh Lord.
Bro, you know what's awesome? We're gonna have the best podcast coming up. It's the anniversary of the insurrection.
Oh yeah. And you know what's even better than that? Is it on Insurrection
It,
Day?
yes,
It is. this. We're gonna have an insurrection live, guys. But what's even better is 3 days before that. I think it's 3 days before that. The January 3rd, they're supposed to have a vote for the Speaker of the House.
Vote that guy out.
Get him out.
Put Elon Musk there.
Oh man, a lot of people been Elon or Vivek. That would be wild because, like I say, a lot of people, if you don't know this, it doesn't have to be an elected member of Congress. Nowhere in the Constitution, Bill of Rights, all that other any governmental, it doesn't have to be, and it's never been that way. But it doesn't mean it can't change, right? We've seen a lot of change over the last couple months, so it'll be interesting to see what happens.
But if we, I'll be the negative Nancy. But if we know the patterns of Congress as a whole, we'll see a rhino.
Yeah, I mean, my vote is still the same. Jim Jordan. I said that's who it should have been, and they actually nominated him. But all the rhinos said nope, 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 and then they put up Mike Johnson. I'm sticking to it. I'm telling you right now, Jim Jordan.
Josh Hawley in there.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say. I was just about to list off a couple of them. So I'd say Jim Jordan, Josh Hawley, Chip Roy, perfect examples of who we'd want. One's from Missouri. That's where Hawley's from, right? Missouri, I believe. And then
so.
Jim Jordan's from Ohio. Chip Roy's from Texas. All deep red states. So perfect.
Beautiful.
So, but yeah, definitely want to tune in. We're going to be doing a couple, every Monday, 7 p.m. Central Time. Definitely tune in. We'll have one next Monday, and then obviously our Insurrection podcast on the 6th. So tune in for that. But we definitely want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. Remember what the season is actually for. Forget all the gifts. Forget all that nonsense. Forget everything that's going on in the political world for a couple days after today, and just be with your family. We wish you guys a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Be safe. We love you all.
And if you are not already following the greatest podcast in America, please go follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Rumble, Twitch, and Patreon. Merry Christmas. We love you.